Hello, welcome back. So in the previous part, we were designing the lintel beam and we have calculated the total shear force and factored bending moment. Now we will move to the next step in which we will be checking the D required. So in the first step, actually we have estimated the depth of lintel beam as 220 mm overall depth and D provided was 190 mm. So we have to check whether that 190 mm depth is sufficient to resist the bending moment that we have calculated in the previous step. So for this, what we do is first of all, we consider our section as a balanced section. Although we design the beam as under reinforced section so that the ductility is ensured with the steel stresses reaching the design value, which means we always prefer to design under reinforced section in which steel will fail first. Okay, so that is our criteria. But now to check the required depth, what we will be doing is we will consider the moment of resistance of our lintel beam to be equivalent as a balanced section. And for that, we will be using formula of moment of resistance for balanced section, and then we will calculate the D required for that balanced section. So that is the process that we generally follow to check the depth required. So here I have written, let us now determine the limiting effective depth, which I will be referring as D required. So we have to find out this D required by comparing the value XU equals to XU max. So in that case, we know that XU is the depth of neutral axis, actual depth of neutral axis, and XU max is the maximum depth of neutral axis. So in case of balanced section, the depth of neutral axis is expressed as XU max. And in case of under reinforced or over reinforced section, the depth of neutral axis is considered as XU. So when we consider that our section to be equivalent to balanced section, so in that case, XU will become equivalent to XU max. And ultimately, the moment of resistance of our section will become equivalent to the moment of resistance of the balanced section. So here it is termed as MU dash limiting. It means limiting moment of resistance. So in case of limit state design method, we generally refer moment of resistance of balanced section as MU dash limiting, and mu is the bending moment or moment of resistance of our section. So now by comparing this with the balanced section of balanced section moment of resistance, with this we can use the formula through which we can find out moment of resistance of balanced section. So basically by using that relation, we will actually be finding the value of D required. So now I will show you the formula in the IS code. So here, in this case, you can see this is the clause that we generally use to get the relation for moment of resistance. Sorry. So basically, when we use the clause G1.1, so with this clause, we can use formula from the point A. Now, point A formula can be used to find out the depth of neutral axis. So that is what I have explained in the previous lecture also. And when we are required to find out moment of resistance of under reinforced section, so in that case, we use this formula or this relation to find out the moment of resistance. Okay, so now in our case, we already have the value mu, which we have calculated in the previous step as the maximum bending moment. So here mu value is already known and we can use this relation. But as I said earlier, that we will be comparing, we will be equating our section to balance section, and then with that we will find out the value of D. So for that, we will be using the C formula, and this formula given in the C point, it is actually called MU limiting or moment of resistance of balanced or over reinforced section. Okay, so this formula is generally used to find out moment of resistance of a balanced section. So we will be using this formula to get the value of D. So this D we will consider as D required. And beside this, we have all other value. So Axiomax can be determined from page number 70, where Axiomax I have explained earlier also. Axiomax for Fe415, it will be considered as 0.48 times of D. Okay, so we will put 0.48 times of D in place of Axiomax, and then we will try to solve this to find out the value of D required. So now we will again move to our slide, and there we will now solve the problem. So here we will be using this equation. Now putting all the values here, B is the width of lintel beam, D is the D required, this will be D required, and FCK is the characteristic strength of concrete. So we are using M20 grade of concrete, so FCK value will be 20. So here we will put all the values. So now in place of Axiomax, I have provided the value 0.48D. So here this D required will cancel out this term, this D required will cancel out this term. So ultimately we will be left with this term. So now as we have equated mu limiting with mu, which we have already calculated in the previous step, which is 7.965. So now for this moment of resistance, what will be the D required? So now we will solve it, and by solving this equation, we get D required as 98.19 mm. So only this much depth is required to resist this much of bending moment. While you can see we have already provided D as 190 mm, which is almost double of the required depth. So in that case, what we can do is to make our lintel economical, we can reduce this depth. So for example, adopting the overall depth as 150 mm. So earlier in the first step, we have adopted 220 mm as per thumb rule. Okay, so now with this, now we can see that the load, I mean the depth required for the bending moment is less. So it means we can reduce the depth to make our lintel economically viable. So now providing D as 150 mm. So if you want, you can further reduce it. Okay, so now for make it optimal, I am adopting this as 150 mm. Also, you can see 150 mm is equivalent to the 2 cores or 2 brick layer. So one aspect is also need to be covered, that the depth of lintel generally we adopt in terms of a brick layer. So it can be 1 brick layer or 2 brick layer. So when we adopt 150 mm, it means it will be equivalent to 2 brick layer, and construction of this lintel will be easy from practical considerations. So that is why I have adopted 150 mm in this case. And with this, we will be having the new depth, new effective depth, because we have reduced our depth. So the effective depth will be reduced also. So D provided here will be overall depth minus effective cover. So in this case, effective cover is already assumed as 30 mm. So putting this value, we get D provided as 120 mm. So this is our new D provided, and you can see it is still more than the D required, which is 98.19. So still we are on the safer side. So now you can question that as the depth is reduced, so do we need to calculate load again? Because in the load calculation, we have calculated self weight of lintel, in which we have used depth of lintel beam as 0.22, 220. So here you can see the load will be higher. If we recalculate the load by putting the value 0.15, so with that we will get less load. Okay, so you can see we are already taking the higher load, and by taking this higher load, we are still able to satisfy our depth requirement. So therefore, recalculation of load is not required in this case. And that is what I have written. Recalculation of the load is not necessary because self-weight of lintel is comparatively smaller than the superimposed load. That is also one fact that you can see. UDL that we have calculated in the form of self weight of lintel beam, that was very less than the load of brick masonry contained in the triangular portion. So therefore, that is also one aspect. Because of that, we are not recalculating it. So with this, we can say that our depth is safe. So this concludes the step 5. Now we will move to the next step. We will be providing the reinforcement in our beam. So reinforcement will be provided into two forms. One will be along the length of lintel beam to resist the bending moment, and the second one in the form of stirrups to resist the uh, shear force, which will be developing in the lintel beam. So here, first of all, we will calculate the longitudinal reinforcement to resist the bending moment. So here now we can calculate the area of steel by using the formula. So in the previous step, we have compared our, we have considered our section as balanced section, but ultimately our section is not balanced because our depth will be higher than the required value. So therefore we know that our section will be under reinforced, and therefore we will be actually using the relation of under reinforced beam to calculate the area of steel. So therefore, using the relation, this one. So you can see I have shown you that in the clause G 1.1, there we use this relation to calculate the moment of resistance of under reinforced section. So our section is actually under reinforced because our depth is higher than required. So putting the value of mu as 7.965 as we have calculated the bending moment in step 4, and then equating with the right hand side equation. So in that we already know the value of Fy, which is dependent on the grade of steel as 415, and AST, which is we need to which we need to find out, and D will be here the new D that we have adopted, D provided, which is 120 mm, and Fy is again 415, FCK is 20, B is the width of beam, D is the D provided of the lintel beam. So putting all the values here, only unknown value here is AST. So this equation will form a quadratic equation. So now we have to solve a quadratic equation, and with this equation we will be having two values of AST. One will be very higher value and the second one will be a lower value, but both will be positive. So we will adopt generally the lower value, and that lower value is 210.84. So to resist this bending moment, we are required to provide this much area of steel in the lintel beam. So we have to convert this area into the number of bars, for which we have to adopt, or we have to uh, assume the dia of bar here. So here we will assume the dia of bar, say 10 mm dia. So adopting 10 mm dia of bar, then we can find out the number of bar. So number of bar is basically calculated with this relation, which is area of steel divided by Fi. Fi means area of cross section of one bar. So total area of steel divided by area of cross section of one bar. So with this, we can find out the number of bars. So now putting the value of AST upon A5, and we have assumed the 10 dia bar. So there we will be calculating area of cross section of 10 dia bar. And with this, we get number of bars as 2.69. So generally we round off the value to the higher side. So we will be round off this value to the higher side, which is 3 bars. So ultimately we will be providing 3 bars of 10 dia to resist this bending moment. Now, as you can see, we have increased the area of bar, area of steel in terms of bar, because we are required 2.69 bar, but we are actually providing 3 bars, which means area of steel provided will be higher than the required value. So this one is the required value, and what will be the steel that we are providing? So that is considered as AST provided. So it will be area of cross section of one bar multiplied by number of bars. So putting the value here, So basically we have provided 3 bars and area of cross section of 1 bar is pi d square by 4. Now solving this, we get AST provided as 235.05 mm square. So the required value was 210 and we are providing 235 and that is okay. It is safe. Now, as we have provided this much area, we have to check whether this area is more than the minimum area of steel as recommended by the IS code. So IS code has recommended that the minimum area of steel can be calculated by using this relation. So now putting the value, we can calculate the area of steel. So you can see minimum area of steel required in the lintel beam is 73.73 while we have provided 235.05 mm square. So which means minimum area of steel is less than provided area of steel. So we are again on the safer side. Similarly, uh, this area should be less than maximum area of steel, which is 4% of the total cross-sectional area. So by calculation, we can verify that this area of steel will be less than 4% of total cross-sectional area of the lintel. So now we can also, what we can do is we can bend 1 bar. Generally, we bend up 1 bar and that bent up bar generally act as a resistant to shear force. Okay, so to resist shear force, generally we bend bars. Okay, so minimum 2 bars should be. Okay, I will explain here. As you can see, our beam is supporting this triangular load, okay, along with the UDL. So the bending moment diagram for this will be something like this, which means at the center it will be higher and at the support it will be 0. So we need to have maximum number of bar at the midspan, and as we know that at the support bending moment will be less. So what we can do is we can cut the bar at the support. So therefore, we are providing 3 bars at the midspan. Our 3 bars will be there at the midspan, and at the support, we will have only 2 bars. 1 bar will bend up, and that bent up bar will resist the shear force. So that is what we are doing. So here we have written bending one of the bar at a distance L by 7. So generally we bend the bar at L by 7 distance from the face of each support to make its contribution towards the shearing strength. So basically we are actually increasing the shearing strength of the lintel beam. So that is the reinforcement calculation for resisting bending moment. Now in the next step we will calculate reinforcement to resist the shear force, and this reinforcement which we provide to resist the shear force, it is sometimes known as transverse reinforcement, and the reinforcement that we provide to resist the bending moment, it is sometimes known as longitudinal reinforcement. So here we provide transverse reinforcement in the form of stirrups and bent up bar. So bent up bar we have already provided, as I have mentioned in the previous step. Now we will be designing stirrups. So in the designing, basically we will find out we will assume the dia of bar, and ultimately we will find out the spacing, at what spacing we are providing the stirrups. So that is what we are going to calculate here. But before that, we will check whether our beam is required shear reinforcement, whether it requires shear reinforcement or not. So I have discussed about shear force criteria in the previous course, that was basics of RCC design. So you can refer to my one of the lecture of singly reinforced design, where I have designed singly reinforced beam for shear criteria. So to understand more about shear force, you can refer to that lecture. There I have discussed shear force phenomena in detail. So here I am just mentioning that generally we find out first the shear force, how much shear force is acting in our beam. So the shear force is already calculated in step 4, and that shear force is 11.61. Now this is the shear force which is acting on the beam because of the external load. Now Generally, we express this load per unit cross-sectional area. So when we express this shear force per unit cross-sectional area, in that case, we express that as tau v. So tau v is called nominal shear stress, which is basically the shear force per unit cross-sectional area. So as you can see, the total shear force may be acting over the whole cross-section, but at a unit cross-section, what shear force is acting at a particular unit cross-sectional area. So that shear force per unit cross-sectional area is called tau v. So we have to first find out the value of tau v, and then we have to compare this tau v with the strength of concrete. So strength of concrete are basically of two types. One is maximum strength of, maximum shear strength of concrete, which we express as tau c max. And the second one is permissible shearing strength of concrete, which we express as tau c. And this tau c is basically dependent on the amount of steel present at the support. Okay, so what we will do is, first of all, we will calculate tau v value, and then we will compare tau v value with tau c max. So for beam to be safe in this criteria, tau v value should be less than tau c max. Now, by chance, if our tau v value is more than tau c max, in that case, what we have to do is we have to increase the depth of beam, and again we have to redesign our problem. Similarly, when this condition is satisfied, then we have to compare tau v with the tau c. So if tau v is less than tau c, then we say that shear reinforcement is not required, but as per IS code recommendation, we generally provide minimum shear reinforcement. And when tau v is more than tau c, in that case, we provide shear reinforcement. Okay, so what we will be doing is, first we will calculate tau v, then we will calculate tau c, and we calculate tau c max. Although this tau c max and tau c value can be found from the IS code. So we will compare them, and then on that comparison we will decide whether shear reinforcement needs to be provided or not. Okay, so now first we will calculate the value of tau v, and the tau v is shear force per unit area. So Vu is force and cross sectional area of beam is P into D. So force upon area, that becomes the stress, which we are calling this as nominal shear stress. So putting all the values here, and because we are calculating the stress, so we have to provide all the values here in this relation in Newton and mm. So putting all the values here, we get the value of nominal shear stress for tau v as 0.32 Newton per mm square. Okay, so that is the value of tau v. Now we have to find out the value of tau c max. So tau c max can be calculated from the IS code. So now I will show you the IS code and the table with which we can find out the tau c max value. So here you can see, to calculate the nominal shear stress, we already have the formula to calculate the tau v, which is Vu upon Bd. This is actually D. Okay, so it is not in the subscription. It is basically B into D. Okay, so with this we can find out tau v. So now we will get the value of tau c max. So you can see table 19 can be used to find out tau c, and table 20 can be used to find out tau c max. So we will talk about table 19 when we will be calculating the value of tau c. So first we will see what will be the value of tau c max by using table 20. So tau c max value is dependent on the grade of concrete. So our grade of concrete for our case is M20, and for M20 grade of concrete, tau c value is 2.8 Newton per mm square. So we will use this value, and now we can say that tau c max is 2.89 Newton per mm square, which is more than the value of tau v, which is 0.32 Newton per mm square. Now what does it mean? It means our section is safe, or in other words we can say that the depth of beam is safe, or in other words depth of beam is safe. So that is the meaning of this. Okay, now after that we will find out the value of tau c, and now this tau c value is it depends on the percentage of tension steel at the supports. So as I have mentioned in the previous step that we will be bending, we will have one bent up bar and two bars at the support. So as you can see, our beam will be like this, and our reinforcement at the bottom of this beam will be like this, and one bar will bend up like this. So when we remove this one bar, so at the support, at if I cut the cross section, so there only only two bars will be there and one bar will be here, while if I cut the section at here, it will something look like this. Okay, so at the support only two bars are there, so therefore we will calculate the percentage of steel by having two bars only. So here percentage of steel is area of steel at support divided by total cross-sectional area of the lintel beam. So you can see, sorry, effective cross-sectional area of the lintel beam. So 120 is the D and 300 is the P, and this one is the AST at the support. So with this, we can calculate the percentage of steel. So now this percentage of steel is 0.44%. So generally, basically, I'm rounding off this value to 0.5% so that we can directly find out the value from the table. But generally, we will find out tau c value only for the percentage that is being calculated. Okay. So generally, we can calculate that with the interpolation. So now I am avoiding interpolation here, but you have to calculate actual value of tau c by using this percentage. So here I am just rounding off this value to get the value of tau c directly from the table. So again, I will show you the IS code and the table with which we can find out the value of tau c. So to get the value of tau c, we will use table 19, and in the first column you can see this one is representing the formula of area of steel at the support. So our area of steel at support is basically 0.44, but we have round off this value to 0.50. So you can see our 0.44 will lie between 0.25 and 0.50. So ultimately, for grade of concrete M20, our value of tau c will lie between 0.36 and 0.48. But we have round off this value to 0.50. So what we will do is we will take the value tau c directly as 0.48. But again, I'm telling you, you will have to find out the actual value of tau c by interpolating between these two values. So now I'm taking the direct value of tau c as 0.48 in the problem. So now I will again show you the PPT. So there we can find out the value of tau c from table 19 as 0.48, and again you can see this value is more than the value of tau v, which is 0.32. So what does it mean? If tau v is less than tau c max, then it means depth is fine. If tau v is less than tau c, it means our beam is safe in shear, but we have to provide minimum shear reinforcement. And by chance, if the value of tau v is greater than tau c, in that case, we are required to provide shear reinforcement. So that is the case that we need to remember in there. Okay, so here our case fall in this category, which means we have to provide minimum shear reinforcement as per IS code recommendations. So as we have to only provide nominal shear reinforcement as per IS code recommendations. So here by using this clause, so if you refer to this clause of IS code, you will find out this relation. So this relation is for the minimum shear reinforcement. So in this, ASV is the area of cross-section of stirrups leg. So generally we use two-legged vertical stirrups. So ASV in that case will become 2 multiplied by area of cross-section of one leg. Okay. So in this, we first need to find out ASV by assuming the dia of uh, stirrup bar, and then we already have the value of B and Fy, and with this we will be calculating the value of SV, and SV is basically the spacing of the stirrups. So now we will first assume the dia of bar. So generally we assume 8 mm dia as for the vertical stirrups. So vertical stirrups will look like this. Okay, so this leg and this leg, these are the two vertical legs, and we will actually be calculating cross-sectional area of these two legs. So that area will be ASB. So now we will calculate the ASB value. So ASB can be calculated as 2 multiplied by pi d square by 4. So we have multiplied by 2 because it has two legs, okay, two vertical legs. So getting the value as 100.5 mm square. Now we can put this value in this relation to find out the value of SP by comparing with, by comparing LHS with RHS. Okay, so spacing by rearranging this, we can have spacing formula as this one. So putting all the values here, we will get the value of spacing as 302 mm square. So the value of spacing calculated as 302.40 mm square. Now here also IS code has recommended a minimum spacing uh, in the code. So what is that recommendation? So you can refer to this clause of IS code to get the recommendation regarding the spacing. So as per IS code recommendation, the spacing should be the least of first 300 mm, second 0.75 times of D. Now D is basically the D provided. So our D provided is 120. So 0.75 times of D is 90 mm. And the third value is the calculated spacing. So we have calculated spacing on the last slide. So that is 302.40. So our spacing will be the least of these three values. So the least value is 90 mm. So ultimately we will write that we will provide two leg vertical stirrups 8 mm dia at the rate of 90 mm center to center throughout the beam. So now our final step is to draw the reinforcement sketch. So reinforcement sketch is provided on the next slide. So that is the reinforcement sketch. So here you can see this is the lintel beam and this is the reinforcement that we have designed. This is the longitudinal reinforcement, and you can see these are the stirrups that are like this. So these are the stirrups. So their spacing is 90 mm each, and also you can see one bar is bent up, which is of 10 mm dia, and at this point you will find 3 bars of 10 mm dia, but at this point you will find 2 bars of 10 mm dia because one bar is already bent up. Now one more thing you can see here, there are some bars showing here which we have not calculated. Now these bars are known as anchor bar, and generally these are considered as the extra reinforcement that we generally provide at the construction site, basically to hold the stirrups. So we don't calculate them, we generally provide them on the top level so that the stirrups can be held up. So as you can see, if we don't provide these bars, stirrups will not be holding properly. Okay, so to hold up them, we provide these bars. So these are known as hanger bar or anchor bar. Okay, so now first section is cut at the midspan. So there at the midspan you can see 3 tension bar is showing, and when we cut section at section YY, so there you can see one bar is already bent up, so now it has gone to the top, so therefore that bar will be shown here, and the 2 bars which are at the support will be shown here. So all the details are like this. So that is the sketch of lintel reinforcement. So that concludes our design problem. Thank you.